Hello, Dilly. How are you?
Hello, George. I put in the nest. People should repost this space if they think you're a super freak.
Oh God, Peep. I know it's never a dull moment with me. You're probably like with bated breath, waiting to see what crazy song I come up with each
How
day.
did you pick that
And
song?
oh yeah, so there's always a story behind every song. So the best source of ideas is my devoted followers.
Hmm.
They've been so good, and I urge everyone. I'll make a call for songs again.
Yeah.
I think Brian I picked twice recently. But again, the rules of engagement are such that I like up tempo songs.
Yep.
Don't give me any, lullaby thing. And so anyway, why Super
And no
Freak?
rap songs. You don't like rap,
No
apparently.
rap songs. Why Super Freak today?
Yeah.
I was triggered. I was triggered by Super Zwag. Okay. So my good friend Tom Thornton's in the room, and he was right for calling me out because I was so triggered. Because, everyone's going nuts over Zweig breath
Yeah,
thrusts.
yeah.
But okay, but I misspelled it at first. I thought it was breast, Breast, but no, it's breath, Breatdh. And so anyway, so it wasn't just a Zweig breath thrust. It was a super thrust. Okay.
Ooh.
So I was going around the house all fired up this morning about super thrust, super thrust.
Super
So
thrust.
that's where I came up with super freak. So for those of you that don't remember, although John Roque is not here, he could probably tell us exactly about this song, who was in it and whatever.
When did that
Uh,
song come out?
that's what I was gonna say. It was 1981, 1981,
Oh, okay. The 80s
and
big
so I
big
had heard it
decade.
for a while, and I know I'm nuts, but I thought it would be appropriate for today. So in any event, yeah, I was all bent out of shape in about this. And Tom could probably speak to it. I was bent out of shape about this wide thrust thing, and yes, Tom, you're right for calling me. I kind of went overboard, but it's sort of like I'm sure Tom has this all the time. It's like when they say don't try this at home.
Hmm.
You have people try to be amateur technicians, and they'll take one thing and they totally misapply the rule and yada yada yada. And so that was going on with in the hellscape of Twitter the last few days. And you see that with sayings with technical rules. Like remember Dilly a few months ago. I think I put it in the tweet. Everyone was going on in the wake of DeepSeek and the Nvidia thing. Jevons paradox.
Yeah.
Which is basically when the price goes down, the usage increases. Blah blah blah. And before that, it was U.S. exceptionalism. It's always these
Yeah.
phrases that people just parrot. They have no idea what they're
Yeah.
talking about. They are larping like you wouldn't believe. Okay, so. So I don't know. I just thought it was funny. I just thought it was
No,
funny.
I like it. I like it. That's a really good backstory. What did
Yeah.
Thomas is up here now. What did he say to you?
Well, Tom just said, "Hey, Francis, calm down." Tommy, you there? Welcome, my friend.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, George.
Tom.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I know how sometimes George you get worked up on a few things. I've noticed that, but I will say look, Marty Zweig uh, is one of the most legendary people besides yourself that ever went on Wall Street Week. But no, seriously, he was a fantastic. Uh, trader, probably one of the first quants out there before quants were anything. And I follow breath. My subscribers will tell you I talk about breath every single day. And breath was horrible on the way down, and then you had a real strong upside move in breath as well. So look, I don't this Zweig thrust is actually a pretty good signal. Um, but I also think that we're a little too early in the uh, downside move for countering and saying that the bottom's in and we're going to go up 25% after this. So that's my only thing. And one other thing, one of my subscribers used to work with Marty Zwag, and we were talking about it on Bloomberg Chat the other day, and he said that Marty would probably he was a fantastic guy, he told me, to work with, but he said he would have probably laughed about it with how much attention it was getting, and probably would have said to discount it, more of a reflexivity of just how much attention it did get. So you have the usual people who are bullish are gonna go absolutely nuts and tell you any study that that, there's that one guy, and I don't know his name, that always talks about, since April's down, May will be up, and this has happened 100 times, and every time it's up 5%. All these like stats. There's always a stat. It it just makes no sense to me. But the point is, I think breadth, that is actually a pretty good indicator, and it's not something that I would weigh too much on. Again, I think that the downside move that we had might be a little too early to call an all clear. And I've been just kind of shuffling my portfolio exposure around. Um, got kind of lucky, and in this market, you kind of have to feel lucky and not get a. You're not going to get the perfect exact low or high when you buy or sell anything. So use the shotgun approach.
Yeah.
And if you're wrong and you take a profit, you just took a profit. So I'm trying to become a little bit more neutral right now with my portfolio. I was long, and still long, but just less long, and it took some exposure off.
Makes a lot of sense, Tom. It's hard to be certain of anything in this
Oh,
environment.
one thing, and you'll probably lose
Sure.
me, but um, everybody, I mean, everybody's been talking about the dollar, and that it's going down and everything, but tomorrow we probably will be getting a DeMark sequential buy count down 13, something that I've been anticipating, and it's carved down 5 waves, and so I think we could see a dollar bounce and it to start to develop. Maybe not this week, maybe next week, but I think that those that are predicting much lower levels, you're going to have to deal with a bounce in the interim. So I'm watching that. Euro USD is same thing. You're going to have the 13 tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. And when you get 13s, usually have a week or two. For some price reversal to occur. It's not, instantaneous signal. So I'm
Well,
watching that really closely, and I'm still short gold, and everybody was kind of laughed at that one, but I think it could work. I think it
we'll
could
see.
move a bit lower.
Yep. I hope, Tommy, well spoken as usual. I hope for your benefit, horror of horrors, God forbid, if the Twitter sphere is all chirping about the Mark 13 on the dollar, then you're gonna have to reconsider your position. I mean, it's just, Dilly, question for you. So I put out a wise guy tweet the other day, not that you expect anything less from me. And this is a question, Dilly, for you. I said, so
I'm ready.
I looked up in the thesaurus. I wanted synonyms for thrust, and so it came up with things like shove, push, propel, impel, send, press. So I said,
Yeah.
imagine if instead of naming it the Zweig breath thrust, they instead call it a breath shove or a breath push or a breath poke. Just saying.
No,
So out
I
of
like
people,
thrust. I'm a fan of thrust. That's a good one.
Dilly, we're not going to go there. This is a PG program. We are not going
I
there.
didn't mean
Okay.
it like
So
that, George.
oh, what were you possibly
I just
thinking?
think
Yeah,
it
right.
commands attention, right? Like
Yeah. By the way, Dylan, I just want to know, you're probably not aware of this.
what?
I friended you on Facebook this
You
afternoon. I
did?
friended you
I
on
never go
Facebook.
on Facebook. I'll have to go.
I
You
found you though,
found
because you
me.
know how like they found it's like this, you're not going to find Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to find you. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to find Dilly. Dilly found me. So I go on Facebook like once every few days, and all of a sudden they have these suggestions for all these friends, right?
Yeah.
And there you
Oh, it
are.
showed
There you are.
up.
You popped up. Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
So
Wow.
so so you got to
Our
friend me back.
I
So I
know
didn't.
our algorithms are syncing up, George.
I know. I
Mm-hmm.
know. Okay. So I want to introduce a new
All
feature.
right,
We got to
let's
get
go.
to we got to get to drunken, but I want to introduce a new feature. It's like, BSF. We take spaces, we make it better. So I'm introducing a new feature as a public service in the interest of trying to help our listeners call out good actors and guys who are really smart and maybe are not fully appreciated. Maybe he's known to many of you, but I just found this guy the other day and I thought he was fantastic. So everyone should give him a follow. It's not like he's undiscovered. He's got 117,000 followers, or no, yeah, 117,000 followers already. Spencer Hakimian, at Spencer Hakimian. Okay, he manages Tulu Capital Management. Maybe Tom Thornton knows him or something like that. But he had so many good tweets over the weekend. I'm sitting there going through a bunch of stuff, and I was like really blown away. And so, I think he's a must follow. I'm trying to find some of the good tweets that he
You
put
should
out. I
share
think
one
he's,
of his things so people can find him.
yeah, I will, I will. So I'll put it up in the nest. But I urge everyone to follow this guy. I'm trying to find my
What
own.
spoke to you? Like
Well,
what
yeah,
was the
I'm trying.
tweet?
I'm trying to find it. He had so many good ones. Hold on, let me just find it here. It was ridiculous because it was like one tweet after another that I read. All right, I just wanted to keep posting. All right, so for instance, he put out this thing the other day. Here, I'll put this in the nest. He put this in the nest the other day. This is really good. It shows impact of tariffs on the U.S. toy industry. Okay, so for small toy companies, 81% of them are having delayed orders, 64% canceled orders, 46% they could go out of business if this doesn't stop too soon. So my wise guy, I took the tweet and I posted, will Santa have to file for unemployment? Does he count as an illegal alien? Okay. Um, there were other ones here. Let me just find Spencer. I had so many from him. By the way, did you see? Yeah, here's another one. Dilly, did you see over the weekend people were posting, Spencer included, about what's going on in Las Vegas, like with all the big layoffs and
No, I didn't see that.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh
I
yeah.
tried
And
to
so
disconnect from Twitter this weekend, so you're gonna have to update me, George, on what happened
well,
in the
you know what?
household.
That's a good that's a good idea because I was talking to Michael
Yeah.
Kramer. I don't know if he's in the room now. So Michael and I talk every day. Anyway, he was panicking on Saturday because he got locked out of his Twitter account. He had some crazy thing happen.
No,
Actually,
really?
it was actually the best thing that ever happened to him. Like he
Yeah,
got
he had
back
to
in last night.
disconnect.
Ok- Yeah, no, and he goes, "This was great." So I
It's like a
know,
detox, You just gotta
yeah,
detox from social
exactly,
media every once
exactly.
in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Tom, I have a love-hate relationship with Twitter, as does Tom, and so you have to detox every once in a while. By the way, one person did message me. I'll keep him in the Federal Witness Protection Program, but I'm not gonna mention who it was. So if you want to figure out who it was, you can go through my feed. You can see it. So someone says to me, George, how come I can't reply to your tweets? Now Thornton's clever. He's put the kibosh on the whole thing. I think he just puts stuff up and nobody can respond to his tweets. In my case, though, and Dilly, I think you told me that. Hey, you told me this, Dilly. It's your fault. You get the credit. You said put them up so only verified
Yeah.
followers can reply.
I've had to do it to
Because
mine too, because
yeah,
we're both
because you
getting
get the,
all these like spam like these
I'm
bots.
getting botted all the
Yeah.
time, and okay, for for $11 a month, like fine, I don't need all the bots. So now it's great. Like when you don't have the bots being able to hit you back. So I don't know what I want to go. I don't want to go like full Thornton and like make it so nobody can reply. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but and I don't know if anyone wants to talk in this space about how bad the bots are. And by the way, so coming back to the weekly service, I want people should send me tweet to me nominees for like the best actors out there, the guys with the best tweets and who really helps me. And this Spencer Hakimian guy, I put a couple of his up in the nest. He is a really good guy. So as opposed to like negative garbage where people are complaining about this or complaining
What
about
is that
that. Okay.
emoji that you used on your quote tweet to him?
You know, Dilly,
What?
I'm so lame.
What?
You have to show. I wanted to find like the yellow down arrow, but I couldn't find it. So I so like Dilly, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh. I found the yellow arrow, but check this out. Check this out.
Okay.
When I went to copy and paste, it was like an inch high by an inch wide. It was like bigger than the tweet. I'm like, no. I just wanted one of those down arrow things to highlight somebody else's tweet.
Okay.
But in all seriousness, we need to we need to promote collectively the people who are really helpful and reward them with good behavior with likes and retweets. The Spencer guy, I reached out to him. He offered to come in the space this week. I can't do it because we got other guests coming in, but we'll have them next week. So as opposed to everyone complaining and negative energy,
Yes.
we should do that. We should do that too.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the people that are helping, need to be recognized for their
A
public
million
service.
percent. It would be remarkable if more people were positive on the internet, right? Like, don't you think it could be contagious, maybe? I mean, all this negativity on here, it's just too much.
So it would just drown out
Yeah. Like, we
it
should.
would drown out. Yeah. I mean, I really wish, okay, we could find a way to get, and it's not even being deplatformed or banned. It's just this, freedom of reach, not freedom of speech, where like you'll see tweets, really ordinary tweets, and all of a sudden there's like 500,000 views, right? And then you'll see like the most incredible tweet from, well, I don't know, I'll just Tom, let's say Tom Thornton, and it should get like 1 million views, but it gets like 5,000 views, and it's like, what's with that? That's because Elon's playing games, and this stuff has to be called out. It's just got to stop. So anyway, I keep going. I got a lot to talk about. Let's keep moving here. So I know he's had. I know this is the content you all come here for. Van has had a very tough weekend, but I think he's going to be MIA for a little bit. So we were graced with his presence on Friday. Van is back. He'll tell you about the ordeal he went through this weekend, so I really feel for him. But
Is he
again,
okay?
Van, I think so. I think so.
Man.
But yeah. So anyway, so Van, welcome. How are you doing, my friend?
I should have taken my own advice. It got a little hairy this weekend, but you know, uh, well, I'm here, so I'm going to try to provide some help.
Van, you're going to try to provide help, or you need help?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Help for yourself or help for all of us?
well,
What's the
well,
play?
all right. I'll just get into it. So, listen up. That I'm a parody account. And yes, I'm usually drunker than a repo trader scout, but today, under the stern guidance of my AA sponsor, my attorney, and possibly the SEC, I'm here to actually deliver some real serious and sober investment advice. Not because I want to, but because apparently long whiskey and short the dollar isn't a full portfolio strategy anymore. Thank you, Judge. I am legally required to say all of this as part of my court ordered community service. Every word I read knocks 10 minutes off my sentence, so let's get through it together.
Van, have you been? When was the last time you had a drink?
Well, sobering up in front of the judge this morning was enough to remind me that I have to hold off for at least my next P test.
Oh God, you poor thing. All right, so Van, you. This is part of community service. You actually have to dispense some wisdom here, some actual real life investment advice. Even though this is not investment advice, you're just in your own way trying to help us. Is that right?
That's correct. This is not investment advice. It's just a drunk man yelling into a microphone. You do need to do your own research, talk to a professional, or blame yourself, not me, when your portfolio ends up looking like a yard sale. But
All right.
before
So,
we get into it, though, just want to back up to something Tom said, and your rant at the beginning. Look, everybody's it seems like cheering this breath. It's like it's the second coming, but it's not a real rally if nobody puked their portfolio into a trash can first. There was no fear, no bottom, no capitulation.
so we got to see if someone's going to toss their cookies first as a sign of a durable bottom.
Yeah, when you have to reach for the Pedialyte, then it's time to get serious.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
All right.
I think we've all been familiar sometime in our life, Van, with praying at the Church of American Standard. You know, the one where you get down on your knees and you gotta bow and worship. You know that one, Van?
Well, unfortunately, I had upgraded to one of those Japanese toilets, and all it did was spray it back in my face.
Oh God!
Oh no.
Oh God!
Don't ever let anybody tell you the $750 is worth it.
That sounds like it's worse than pissing into the wind. But anyway, Dilly, I don't know what it is. All these conversations keep coming
All I
back to.
know is I hit the self clean mode.
I have so many thoughts.
Oh, all right.
All right. Savannah, keep going. What do you got?
All right. So this 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 actually is serious. We're not in some cute little bull or bear market. We're in a full blown legitimacy crisis. Nobody knows what actually creates value anymore. So it's not just about buying the dips or selling the rips. It's about figuring out what's real before the next guy sobers up. So for the next few minutes, we're going to get into the real stuff, the themes that actually matter, which is the bones of the next cycle. And again, if a parody account with a liver the size of Rhode Island thinks it's time for you to pivot your portfolio, maybe it's time to pay attention. So, as I've once famously said, it's not enough to spot a great story. You have to buy it at a price where, even if you're wrong, you don't get carried out in a body bag. Price matters, even when the dream looks pretty. And I don't need to be right all the time. I just need the bottle to be full when I'm right and half empty when I'm wrong. Risk management is the only buzz I really trust. So, even I know there's a few places you want to be parking your cash before Jerome Powell nukes the yield curve or tariffs turn your grocery bill into a second mortgage. So, I can launch into that if you want, George.
Yeah, how do we protect ourselves against the obvious monetary debasement which is going to have to ensue? I mean, either they're going to either get austerity or they're going to have to print. So how do we protect ourselves? I mean, I've been in
Well,
the gold camp. Maybe I'll be wrong now for a while, but I don't know. I don't know what to do. How do we protect ourselves, man?
well, two seemingly realistic outcomes here are stagflation with U.S. exceptionalism or stagflation without it. I tend to be in the camp that if things really get crazy, we'll still continue to see, thanks to some of the overseas debt mechanics and currency mechanics, that the US dollar will not fall off the cliff. And with that in mind, I think there are a few areas worth paying attention to. So, for instance, different types of data, AI, data storage, data transmission, and robotics, because the robots are coming whether you like it or not. So, if you think your kid's going to get a job flipping burgers, you're going to be a drone with better work ethic and no student. So, think about going long AI, long cloud servers, long those robotic overlords. I'm investing now so when they take over, they at least leave me my bourbon supply. But, listen here. That doesn't mean paying 100 times earnings for some shiny semiconductor stock. It means digging through the vertical integration chain and finding who's delivering the infrastructure, who's monetizing the picks and shovels, and who's actually turning a profit before the Skynet bills us for oxygen. I'm also thinking about in healthcare and drugs. Old people aren't getting any younger. Trust me. I checked after my last margin call. So, biotech, devices, pharma, this is a demographic freight train you either ride or you get run over by. So, I'm
Hey,
drug
hey,
users with the
Van
legal
out.
lens.
Yeah, Van. Now I'm really listening because I got this sort of value inclination in me, which has not served me well in recent years. But so some of the growth stuff, okay, it's gotten clocked, but it's still not exactly cheap. But some of the healthcare stuff has been left for dead. And I heard some great stories. Jordy Visser, Adam Parker, whatever, talking about how some of these healthcare guys are going to have like huge efficiency gains for the application of AI. And some of these things have been left for dead. So I mean, you can't be indiscriminate. The healthcare's got a lot of different subsectors, but that sounds like a really promising area to do some work. I mean, I think Adam Parker said in the space a few weeks ago we had no on YouTube. He was like, think about it. You go into a doctor's office, and what do? They make you fill out a bunch of papers on a clipboard, and then you go to another place, and same thing. I mean, here we are in this modern age, and you're filling your name and birthday and social security number out on a clipboard. Like seriously, so Van, are you like are you in healthcare, or it's just something you're starting to kick around again?
No, if you there's a another famous hedge fund guy, a friend of mine, that I know. I think he runs that Poison Oak Tree Capital or something like that. His name's Howard Marks. He's kind of famous,
Yep.
but one of the cycles he talks about is the demographics cycle. And the last I looked, nobody's getting any younger. And
Mm,
as we have an aging population, that aging population around the world is going to have some needs. Those needs are probably going to be drugs and more drugs,
yep.
devices and more devices, doctors and more doctors.
Seems like it's funny too, because when Adam Parker made the point, I know people are shocked here. We're getting serious for a bit. It's kind of out of character for you, but given that the sector's been so hammered down and valuations are so cheap, he actually went out and said he thought that over the next 5 years, healthcare stocks or the healthcare sector could have like the best. He thought it could be the strongest sector over a long period of time. And it's funny because he was saying this a couple months ago before the market took a dirt nap. And whereas everyone's willing to write off the healthcare sector because they're convinced, it's taking an article of face that RFK Jr. is going to destroy the whole thing. On the other hand, they're still believing in American exceptionalism, and it's kind of funny you have different narratives. One being very bearish interpretation, the other one being a very bullish interpretation. So that's a sector. The thing is, you got to do the work. As you know, Van, it's. I mean, you were talking the other day about your Chinese biomedical stock. I mean, or whatever. I mean, a rickshaw or whatever it was. That's a device company, I guess. Rickshaw. It's mobility for seniors. But I mean, I guess you really got to do some serious stock picking, no, Van?
Well, George, it's like I said a minute ago. It's not enough just to spot a great story. You have to buy it at a price where even when you're wrong, you don't get carried out in a body bag. So the price
Right.
matters. You do have to do the homework, and you can't just ride momentum anymore like we was worked over the last 2 years.
Yeah. So Van, let me
How
ask
do
you.
we go
Back in the
long
day,
body bags?
I don't know who makes those. I wonder if we import them all or not. So Van, let me ask you something. You've been around a long time, and you made some of your biggest successes buying turnarounds, value stocks, yada yada yada. Things really out of favor, but it's like the whole value growth debate, like that's like dead. Nobody talks about value stocks anymore. But I've really been surprised over the years. You've been going with a lot of racy stuff. You had like Coupang and all these, what's a Melly, the South American guy. You've been a lot of these growth things. You're not a value guy or growth guy. You like good stories where stories getting better. And so in this environment, you find a lot to do, Van, or you kind of worried about the outlook? I mean, because I think you've been on the record about, the fiscal problems we have, and your friend Kevin Warsh keeps talking. He's rumored to be possibly the next Fed chair, and how this is going to end badly. So are you? I don't consider you to be a bear by nature, although you have confessed to having had bearitis in the past. But are you kind of optimistic, or you think the bottom's about to fall out of this thing?
Well, I think for the most part, the problem with value guys over the last couple of years is they're like dudes showing up at a keg party with a 401k brochure. It's been great in theory, but nobody's drinking that tonight. So at some point, you get mean reverted harder than the bouncer throws me out of the club.
So you're just. I mean, you like your growth names. It sounds like. Oh wow.
No, I just
No.
no, I think we're definitely headed more for the old school value cycle again. As a matter of fact, I'm looking, speaking of picks and shovel, I mean, actual infrastructure, George, bridges are crumbling, pipes are ancient, and we got politicians throwing money at hard hats like beads at Mardi Gras broads. So you want to tell me you want to bet against Caterpillar? Good luck. Be
Right.
driving a bulldozer over your short position.
So yeah, no, so I get it. So just so everyone's clear here. I mean, Van is trying. I know it's hard because he's sober, but he's actually being serious on his outlook. He's talking about different technology sectors and some of the infrastructure stuff and some of the healthcare and um, so Van, I don't know how long I mean, you probably got the shakes at this point, so I don't know how much longer you can
I could just
stay with this.
I could power through this really quick.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Along with the infrastructure, what that's going to take is materials. And we keep seeing these cutting edge materials, things like graphene, silicone. So the future is going to be built out of weird stuff you can't even pronounce, rare earths. This isn't going to be your daddy's steel mill portfolio. So this is where the new margins are going to get printed, but I'm sober enough to read them. I think you should investigate where those next generation materials come from. Energy, especially Africa's power problem. The world needs power like I need Advil after the FOMC meetings.
Yep. No, we are.
Solar,
We do have an energy problem, don't we? I mean,
yeah,
seriously.
solar, nuclear, LNG, you name it. Long everything that generates a damn electron, especially anywhere near where the population growth is still positive. And
Mm.
keep in mind, we're going to have to redo the nation's energy grid. So look into the uh, look into how that can be played. But that's going to take actual materials in the sense that we need some mining. We have about 6 times the amount of materials that we need out of the earth that's actually coming out of the earth. So if you think chips grow on trees and batteries are going to mine themselves, if
Yeah.
if it
No.
comes out of the ground, I want
Yeah.
exposure. So
Yeah.
I'm long shovels, picks, and panicked junior miners begging for capital. And finally, I think you have to expand your horizons a little bit into some alternatives, secondaries, distressed real estate, which is my playground. It's about asymmetric returns. You're not investing, you're hunting yield like it's happy hour at a strip mall whiskey bar. And
So
I got one last one, George.
yeah. Yeah.
Fixed income, short duration, high quality. I ain't gonna pretend to time the curve. Give me 5% for a year or two in something that won't explode and let me live to fight another cycle.
Yeah.
Short duration is like drinking light beer. It won't knock you out, but you'll still wake up upright.
Well, well played, Van. Well played. So it sounds like this is an environment where stock picking. They always say this, but sounds like you're pretty far away from anything looking like the S&P. I mean, you're in the weeds on a lot of this stuff. So you think if you know what you're doing, this is a particularly good time to be a stock picker?
Yeah, I think especially with global opportunities now being available that haven't been available for a long time. Although I don't expect the dollar to go off the cliff, King Dollar got a little shaky on the throne. So EM, Europe, Asia, cheaper currencies, and a chance to buy real growth while everyone's still crying about the Dixie. But when they're
Mm,
scared, drink when they're selling and profit when they're broke. The bottom line
there you
is,
go.
I'm not telling you to YOLO into meme coins. I'm telling you that this is your shopping list before the train leaves the station. Get the boring stuff
Excellent.
now before you're stuck panic buying volatility and powder eggs later.
Right. Right. And of course, everyone's got to do their own work because that's the problem. It's if you give out ideas and they get pissed when it doesn't work and they want to blame it on you and so on and so forth. So I really appreciate you, Van. You're giving it your best shot in terms of what you're really thinking. And by the way, seriously, guys, this is sober Van, and this is what Van really believes. So I mean, we have a great time in here, but I'm glad he's lucid enough to and straight thinking enough to share his best. So Van, I want to thank you. That's great. You're of course welcome to hang out. We're not gonna harass you or anything. So moving along. So I don't know, Dilly, who is next to speak. Rusty's up here. Who else is up with us, Dilly? I can't quite tell.
Um, well, people can request if they want to come on up and give their synopsis on things right now.
Okay. While we're waiting people to come up, I want to ask you, Dilly, because I had an idea. We had that space on, I think it was Friday,
Hmm.
and we had that fellow come up and talk about Mexico.
Yes,
And
yes, that was so good.
yeah, and as someone else would say, Dilly, it was
It was
fascinating.
it
Okay.
was truly fascinating.
No, no, it was a good space, all kidding aside. It was really interesting. And who knew? We had no idea going into that. So that spurred an idea in my head, and I wanted to bounce this off of you or anybody else who's in the room wants to come on up and put their 2 cents in. But I was thinking if we brought in like maybe once a week an expat living in a different country in the world to tell us what it looks like. And I really think it needs to be an expat because if like for instance, I have a friend who's going to be coming in on Thursday, we're going to get the view from Greece. And this is a guy who's lived in America for a long time. The problem is if it's just some rando Greek dude, he doesn't perhaps have as good of appreciation of what's going on here in the States as, and someone who's lived here. So, Dilly or Rusty, what do you think if, like, once a week or once in a while we brought in someone from a different area, different country, Asia, South America, whatever. And if they start saying, instead of abstract stuff, like if they're telling you, hey, what, you can buy a car for 20,000, or the rent's only $1,000, or healthcare is free, or the water's really polluted here, or whatever. Like those are the sorts of things that I'll speak for myself. I don't really appreciate, as much. I don't believe what I read in the papers, and they don't get the best vantage
Literally.
point. So
Yeah.
I don't know, Dilly, what do you
I
think,
think
or
that's a
Rusty, what do you
great
think? That makes
idea.
sense?
I think especially the media, like from anybody's point of view, it's just propaganda nowadays. And so I think like hearing it from the horse's mouth is always like far more interesting and probably relevant.
Yeah.
So I love that idea.
Out. Yeah, like I think what was so great about that, Dave Nikoski was in space too, and he kept kind of apologizing that he spurred it along, but really, I mean, what was great about it, I'd commented how Tesla was the joke of the week in my opinion in the response, but him living there in kind of affluent area of Mexico City, he's a trader, but the thing is he was able to provide insight. I mean, I've been to Mexico numerous times, but I had that question again, not to bring it up, but Bitcoin. I was like curious. Okay, are they still cool with the peso, or are they not, or what? And he was like, oh no, they're tying it to the dollar. They're not into the crypto world, and it's only those things. And then him talking about the cars, he brought up BYD, and I was like, well, those batteries go into Tesla, and he talked about the value of them. They're about 20,000 US dollars, and I've been all over Europe and can tell you, I mean, you don't see a Tesla, you'll see a ton of others. And I kind of spoke in the space on Friday about how, well, the thing is it's not I'm not sitting here trashing Tesla, and I've explained this a few times after that. I'm like, you look at the company, you look at the valuation, and never forget, Elon gave away the technology for free. He put it out there for everyone to use. And they themselves are relying upon Chinese batteries. And it's one of those that you won't learn unless you just ask people who are literally living there like him. So I thought it was phenomenal. So, yes, please, by all means.
George, are you there?
I was about to say, did I lose them?
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that. So, no, I agree. I want to start this on a regular basis, bringing people in from other geographical areas. So Thursday, we're going to have someone from Greece, a good personal friend of mine who grew up in this country, but he's moved back to Greece. And, it's really amazing. I put up some snarky tweet and then I took it down. But Greece was a complete basket case going back a dozen years ago or thereabouts. And here, let me put this in the nest. Most recently, uh, they had their credit rating upgraded. There it is in the nest. And they're actually running a primary budget surplus. That is to say, uh, before interest expense, it's 4.8% of GDP. And I think including interest expense, it's 0.3%. It's basically balanced. So it's really remarkable. And then here's a chart too showing debt to GDP. So I'll put this in the nest as well. So it's really amazing is, yeah, Greece might be a nice place to visit, but like how in God's name did they go from being a complete basket case to, fiscally rehabilitating their house? And they make you know it's like I think I put in the tweet, Scott Besson, maybe you should go on vacation to the Greek islands and learn how to do it. I mean, as my friend will explain, there was a lot of pain involved and people didn't like it necessarily, but they realized that austerity was the only way forward. So okay, Greece is a small country, but if you want to see like what's involved or hear what's involved, I think it's a very good example. And so I think that'll be really interesting. So maybe I'll change the name of the space so people know it's about Greece. But I didn't want initially I put up Greece, Europe, but then I took it down because if it's like Greece, I was going to want to come. But I'm telling you, you're not gonna want to miss this space. Okay, so GM, I think good to see you again. Always love Mr. Global Macro hearing from you. Please unmute yourself. The floor is yours.
Welcome, Abe.
Hey guys, hi. Sorry, just on a run. Yeah, I'll show up on Thursday because I think it's relevant. we've been in Greece since 1978. We had manufacturing facilities there and continue to do business in Greece. So happy to join you on Thursday with a real life examples of what's really going on. I don't want to give too much away, but it's not entirely what it appears. When the government is shelving out 250 euros for underserved families, particularly pensioners, you know that the dichotomy between, what I would say, very underprivileged and the privileged class is massive. You also have to understand a little bit about how Greece is run. Greece is essentially 15 families that run everything. A bunch of ship owners, financiers, but they're primarily ship owners. I mean, they control near 1/3 of the total global traffic. So these boys and girls got a lot of money. And there are women, by the way. So you can't look at it that way. When I read that, I said, absolute fucking nonsense and bullshit. It's not what it appears. Sure, things are better, without question. But you also have to appreciate, from peak to trough, their GDP was down 36% on a peak to trough basis. If that had happened anywhere in the world, let alone in North America, there would have been a massive revolution. People would have been shooting each other on the streets for $5. So I give them a ton of credit because, let me tell you, that's something for the history books. I think you would have to have lived it and understand what had really happened. So I think you have to look at it from when you're going from -40, okay, and you drive a positive surplus. It's a little bit of a different standard. And I think you have to be mindful of the conditions and also be mindful of the fact that the country basically was sold for nothing. All of it, from airports to the railway system to the ports, you name it. It was basically given away
Right.
for a song.
So, Abe. So, love your input. I hope you join us on Thursday,
I
and
will.
that'll make a great conversation with
Yeah, I
my
can't
great
wait.
friend.
Because
So,
I'm also in on the VC community there
yeah,
because we've got some money invested in
good.
the VC community. So I'll be able to give you an idea of different kinds of labor that are thriving and the rest that are not. And I'll tell you, it's quite similar to what you're finding in Middle America. So I'm happy to join on Thursday.
That'd be great. Really looking
Okay.
forward to it. That'd be
Awesome.
awesome.
Thanks.
So Dilly, thanks for that. Thanks for that global macro. So Dilly, we'll do Greece on Thursday, and then we'll just keep moving it around from week to week. And
I love that.
I think getting different perspectives is really helpful. And so we'll just take it from there. All right, who's next up here?
I
Who
also
has?
shared up in the nest some of the spaces that you put out so people can set reminders for those.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So last minute schedule. I was really pleased with this. Tomorrow we've got Peter Berezin from Bank Credit Analyst, and he's most noteworthy. It's up in the nest. He started the year, I think, with and price targets for the market are kind of bunk, but he was like the most bearish on the street. My price target smaller than your price target. He I think was calling for 44.50 on the S&P, and he still is. I talked to him today. He is pretty high conviction we're going into a recession, blah, blah, blah. Thoughtful guy. Bank credit allowance has been around forever. I don't agree with everything he says, but the one reason I think he'll be really interesting is not because I'm trying to create an echo chamber with the bear, but this guy, he turned bullish. He was bullish at the right time in 23, and he turned bearish a little bit too early in the middle of 24. But generally speaking, he's been the right side of markets. And I think even more important than whether he's bullish or bearish, it's not the what, it's the why. So I'm really looking forward to hearing him. Keep in mind, he works for bank credit analysts, so they're rising and falling on the basis of the accuracy of their claim of their research. So I've always thought them to be thoughtful, Not that I always agree with him, but the role of someone like that is to make us think. And I think if any of you have seen Peter in the media recently, he does a pretty good job of that whenever I see him. So that's tomorrow at 4:15. Oh, and then on Wednesday, I don't think you put that one in, Dilly. We have David Trainer from New Constructs. That's an independent research firm. They have their own methodology of code of rating stocks. I see Cantor's in the house. They do it differently than Cantor does, but nevertheless, it's a systematic type of approach. And they've been cited, in Harvard Business School Review and some other places. They really add value. And he's going to talk about his methodology and also give us some insights to what they like and don't like these days. Suffice to say, um, the electric car company that shall not be named will be a topic of conversation.
What do you mean you put it in the title?
Well, that's what I mean. Well, Dilly, that's exactly what I'm saying. Well, Dilly, work with me. Work with me. I'm not that dumb.
Okay.
I was trying to come up with a clever title. I'm like, who
Mm-hmm.
the hell knows who David Trainer is or New Constructs or whatever? No one's going to come to that. But if I put Tesla in the title, then people will show up. So initially, I was like, David, don't talk about Tesla. It's Captain Obvious, yada yada. Elon may sh- plus Elon may shut us down. But then I realized that I needed some clickbait to
Yeah,
get people to come.
you're doing
So that's
clickbait now. It's really
yeah. So
cute,
that
George.
so that's why I put Tesla in the thing. So that's going to be really interesting on Wednesday. So
Cute.
we have Peter Barrison tomorrow. We have David Trainer on Wednesday, and we have my Greek friend on Thursday. And Dilly, I think Friday is going to be a game day decision game. We have to send out a poll. I actually thought, we had a good number of people on Friday afternoon at 4:15.
Yeah.
So, if we can get enough of a crowd up, that's fine. But if people don't respond, then what the heck. Oh, and then one other thing, and not to keep you on the edge of your seats, but I'll give a little bit of a tease.
Oh, good.
Um, Sep- June 5, save the date. So as I think I put out this silly tweet the other day, like something big is going to happen and blah, 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 blah. So June 5, we're going to have something really, really special.
George, you're talking about clickbait, and then June 5th, I can't handle another Liberation Day. Next thing you know, he'll be selling us one weird trick to beat the market while I'm 3 bourbons deep.
People are
So
gonna think it's the dinner with you and I.
yeah, and then we're gonna have the daily trades for $9.99. The trade of the day. Which by the way, I'm trying to be nice. I mean, I know it's hard for me, Dilly, but they always say like you can praise specifically, but only criticize generally. All right. When I was looking at the spaces before I came on this afternoon, okay, Dilly, I kid you not. There was a space,
Oh
all
God,
right.
here we go, guys.
Okay, no, 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 don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. It's not single guys. We're not going there. We are not going there. We are not going there. Okay, but it's entitled. I think it's starting at 5 o'clock. So if everyone wants to leave and go to this other space, that's fine. It was entitled stock picks for the week.
Oh really?
Yeah, for the week.
Oh.
For the week. All right. So Rusty, isn't that the way you roll? You kind of like always like you
I only
change.
get my stock picks from Twitter
Yeah,
Spaces.
right.
Yeah, for the week. For the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be solid by Thursday.
I mean, what the hell? I just can't believe that some
You
of this
just
stuff.
don't understand day traders, George.
God, we should try a date. We should try a day trading space and see how that rolls.
Oh my God.
Oy.
Now that would be
So
funny.
yeah. So okay. So here's another question for people. So I said from now going forward, I want people to suggest Twitter accounts that should be follows. Also, in the interest of rewarding good behavior and trying to make us all smarter.
Yes.
Has anyone listened to any good podcasts lately? I know Cantro has one on the weekends. I didn't listen to it this weekend, Michael, so I don't know if it was any good or not. But I think calling out interesting podcasts is also a valuable public service. There is a plethora of podcasts out there now. It's like the race to zero. There's too much content. As you all are aware, I've been doing some podcasts, but it's kind of interesting, Dilly or Rusty or Van or anybody. You know, before I came back to doing these spaces a few months ago, I was like, Twitter, it's a hellscape. It's terrible. The quality's gone down. Who wants to do spaces? But what I've come to realize is, I mean, just by evidence by the fact that there were 300 people in this room, if you have decent content, build it and they will come. They do come. And also the fact that the other stuff is so bad now. If people can get to hear Tom Thornton or Van or Kentra or whoever, they'll come. And so, that's why Dilly, you and I have been starting to do these like a month ago or thereabouts. And I'm really encouraged by the response so far. And we're going to start distributing these on Apple, Spotify, and we just did our first one on YouTube the other day, as well as Substack. So, and what I sense, Dilly, in talking to people, there's an
What do you sense?
element of community here.
Yes.
So like when you're on a YouTube, it's aseptic,
Yes.
it's anonymous. You have no idea who's watching. You're nowhere. Here, it's like my friend said to me. It's like going to the local bar, local pub, where it's like Cheers, where everybody goes. So like you
Yes.
walk in, oh, there's Tom Thornton, there's Rusty, there's
Well,
Van, whatever. And so if you look at it and you say, oh, those guys are here. Well, that means the speaker must not be an idiot. Let me hear what's going on. And so I think there's really a sense of community, and we also contribute together. And
hmm
and I'll stop. But one of the things I've considered, I discussed this with you. If I took this show on the road and I started to do some YouTube things, it eliminates the possibility for interaction with the audience. I think people really like that here. So I don't know, Dilly, Rusty, anybody have any thoughts, comments, reactions to any of this?
Well, I was gonna say, I think like a lot of podcasts like are fun for background noise or like learning, but it's a one-way conversation. Whereas spaces and social audio allows for community, like people to feel heard, even if they can't contribute like verbally, they can leave comments down below or they can interact in other ways. And I do think that like it's a more meaningful conversation. It's hard to manage that like off the gate, I think, but like you said, if you build it, they will come. Like having like the right kind of people contribute and being able to moderate that, I do think creates more meaningful conversation.
I agree. I mean, Dilly, who could have ever imagined in a million years that a conversation on Friday would have gone on to an in-depth discussion of what it's like living in Mexico and have
Yeah,
BYD cars at
exactly.
half the
That's what I
price?
mean. It's
I
like more
mean,
meaningful. And like I do think that also like listeners pay attention more because they feel more involved.
yeah, and given that we really are a community, God, I hate that word community, whatever. But even though we are a community, we pool our resources, so to speak. So if
We're a club.
well, so go back a few weeks ago, we did one. I think it was the Marcus and Tomorrow one. I always pull that one out. And I asked Roke would he show up. He said fine. So John comes. Next thing I know, there's Dave Nikoski, and we got a panel discussion going. Not debate, but just two of the most expert chartists, technical analysts in the country. I'd pay good money for that, and they're going back and forth, and they're loving it because they get to learn from each other, and we're getting to hear all this stuff for free. I'm like, how good is that? And you can't do that in a YouTube or anything like that. Or Tom shows
It's a
up.
lot harder.
Yeah, well, you can't. I mean, what you can do? Put your comments in the chat box. Forget it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Right.
So you never know. So I think there's potential here, but and like I said, we'll keep at it. And we're gonna have these replays distributed over the podcast app. So we have some monetization ideas as well. But don't worry, everyone. If you continue to come to the space, if you come live real time, it's going to stay free. It's going to stay that way. But replay, maybe not so much. But I'll leave it at that, Tilly. You and I've talked about that. So hey, Rusty, what where's your head at with I don't with anything? You want to talk about the market, or is there a particular sector you really like, or stock, or are you as confused as the rest of us? And it's just a time to be doing less, not more. It's like the Hippocratic Oath when you're a doctor. First rule is do no harm. Like, don't blow yourself up in anything. So, Rusty, you got any strong convictions here?
I just like the way you and Van put stuff. um, no, so I put a person in the comments. Y'all probably know is Robin Brooks. He's got some interesting perspective, and I'm really kind of drawn to his information lately, about the EU and just various correlations between right now and 2020 and things like that. I mean, for me, I keep eyeing. I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to stay away. I deal with Japan a lot, so I mean, I always could talk about Japan, but I re-
So, we're asking. Hold on. You invest in Japan? Or you have Japanese
well,
investors?
I
What's it?
deal with them on a
Okay.
regular
Yeah.
basis. So,
Yeah.
um, so I like Friday's conversation, for instance, the emerging market area or any of the Latin American area. This has just really got my interest, and I'm not as well versed there. And if anyone's got info, love to hear.
Yeah. Hey, Rusty, you're breaking up on us a little bit. I don't know what's going on. Dilly, can you hear him? Okay.
No, he was breaking up for me.
Yeah. Rusty, get to a better place.
Can you hear?
Yeah, you're good now. So, Rusty, let me ask you a question. The Japanese were loving it before because, they invest in the US and, market go up, dollar go up. So it's a win-win. Right now, market not go up so much, number not go up so much anymore. But worse, they've taken a bath on the currency. So has some of the Japanese customers you talked to been kind of apprehensive about the US either because of our policy uncertainty, or they're like, hey, we'll still invest here, but we want to hedge the currency? Or like, how have the conversations with the Japanese clients changed over the last couple of months?
Well, I mean, George, the culture side of it, right? And it's really difficult. And I can't divulge a lot, but it's really difficult. And you're right. The apprehension's there is what I'll say to it. And
Russ.
I'm sorry, did someone speak?
No, go ahead, Rusty. You're good. Keep going.
Yeah, so I would just leave it at the apprehensions there, and um, it's understandable. With the yen rocketing through the sky right now, um, them wanting to onshore things themselves. It's a delicate kind of balance.
Yeah, I mean, I've been dealing with these guys, oh God, since 1984, and they're big momentum investors. They're very currency aware. This is like, I think, still the biggest creditor nation in the world. They've got like whatever it is, $1 trillion worth of our bonds. And the unfortunate. I know you know this, Rusty, but maybe not everybody else in the room knows this. If you look at our 30-year, which is wherever we are, 4.8 today or something like that, 4.9, I don't know exactly. And you look at their 30-year, and we could take other maturities, it doesn't really matter. So you'd say, historically, they buy foreign bonds, non-yen denominated bonds. They pick up the yield, and if the yen's weak, that's great. But what's been happening is not just that the yen has been going up, but the cost of buying US Treasury bonds hedged. In other words, you buy the bond and then you hedge it by selling the currency. That yield, so you're not taking any currency exposure, that yield is materially less than the Japanese bond market. So they have very little incentive to invest over here in portfolios. And then layer on top of that, and Rusty, maybe you can't say it a whole lot because of your clients, but I can say it because I know these guys. So you can I'll end this. I'll end this plain the way I always do. So there's no yield pickup. You layer on top of that, the geopolitical uncertainty or crazy tariff policy gathering concerns over a recession. It's kind of like, they're very polite, Rusty. They'll never say no. It's always maybe. So, Rusty, if I analyze their profile correctly, just let's put it this way, Rusty. Rusty, am I a good analyst?
You're 100% on,
Yeah.
George.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
kidding.
go, go.
If I had to add a little bit about my experience in Japan and investing in over there, so the reverse, maybe what you're thinking, but my experience has been that it's sort of like investing. It's like dating your ex. It looks safe, it feels nostalgic, but deep down, it's been dead inside since the 1990s. You know, I'll nibble a little bit when it's cheap and you can hedge with the weird, but I'm drinking heavily either way if I'm looking at Japan.
Yeah, hey, Druck, I'm probably gonna. I shouldn't say this. I was gonna tell a personal story, but I could get in a lot of trouble. So I gotta be careful what I say. Hey, Dilly, I gotta ask you,
What?
like, did I lose whatever remaining uh, shred of respectability Did I kind of like lose it when we started to get into how shall I say the hot? I recounted the story of the hot mic on Clubhouse on Friday.
No, you gained respect from me.
Gained respect. Okay,
Yes.
thank
100%.
you.
Everyone
George,
loved
we've
it.
all had a moment where we thought we were peeing on Mike. Listen, you just actually did it, and they clocked you on it
Oh God!
midstream.
All right, all right, all right. We're not gonna let. There's two things we shouldn't talk about in this space. One is shit coins. The other one is other one's urination. Okay, so like this is like we gotta stop this. I mean seriously. All right. So what else is going on? I don't have any stock picks of the week.
You don't
I
have any stock picks for the week?
for the week, no. And it's just as I said a couple weeks ago, nobody knows nothing. They're buying high, selling low, as I say. Wash, rinse, repeat. No tongue in cheek. And not to shill for Tommy, but he's right. One of the best things that Tom Thornton does, he's got his sentiment stuff in his work. And Tommy's having a really great year, and he hasn't asked me to say this. I'm just going to say it because I read his stuff. He had a tough go like all of us did last year, but he's having a great year, and I love his sentiment stuff because it's just data. And he interprets the data, but it's a mess. And he got out of his bearish, took his bearish suit off a couple weeks ago at the right time. I don't know how long he's gonna stay in this mode, being bullish. I mean, as you said before, it's like strong convictions loosely held, but it's a tough environment. I don't know, Tommy, if you're still there, but strikes me this is not the kind of environment you want to be swinging the bat in any big way. Is that fair, Tom? Tom, unmute yourself if you're still there. I don't know if you're trying to talk, but we can't hear you. Mm.
I saw his mic open, but we
Yeah, I
can't
know.
hear
Maybe
him.
maybe he should cut. Maybe Tommy, maybe you should
Drop
leave and
down and come right back. We'll bring
yeah,
you
either
right back
drop
up.
down or leave the room and come back because we do want to hear from you. And so it's not an easy market. Sometimes, as I've often said, the opportunity set's not linear. Sometimes there are things you have a high degree of conviction in, and even then, it's not so easy. But when it's a mess, when to use a baseball analogy, you're not getting good pitches to hit, and it's really hard. And so this is not a time to be making huge bets. All right, Tommy, you're back. Try and mute yourself, Tom. Are you there? All right, Tom, my suggestion is you leave the room completely and
Yeah,
come
leave the
because
room and
leave the room
come.
and come back because we can't hear you. Tom,
Yeah.
Tom, just leave the room. Don't just drop down. Leave the room and come back, please. We do want to hear from you. Um, okay, so moving along, Dilly. I'm just looking at some of the ridiculous tweets I sent her recently.
We should get you to buy
Uh,
Bitcoin, George.
I know we're gonna do that one of these years. Um,
This
do
year.
you do you remember Pier One Imports, Dilly?
I do. I saw that and I think I got distracted. I was going to respond, but I do remember Pier 1 Import.
Okay, so actually, this could get into a serious stock discussion. Believe it or
Isn't
not.
it still around? Like I
No,
thought like it
no,
was.
no, 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 no. Listen to this.
Oh
Listen
Lord.
to this. Listen to this. Okay.
I thought the
It,
IP was bought. No?
um, hold on. Let Tom come back up. But Tommy, let us finish this conversation before we go. So, Pure One Imports, they went bankrupt in 2020. I looked up on the internet, so it must be true. No, so listen to this. They went bankrupt in 2020.
Mhm.
They got bought by this thing called Retail Concepts. It's some
Yes,
okay.
they own like a ton of them, right? Like
They
bankrupt
own, they, oh, they,
companies.
no, they bought Pier One Imports. They bought Dress Barn,
Yes,
and they
yes.
and they bought this private company of sporting goods that went bust, Model Sports.
Never heard of it.
So as I put, well, it's up here in the Northeast. As I put in the tweet,
Mhm.
I was like, this is like one stop shopping for all your unnecessary purchases. Like each of these is a disaster, all right? And the guy who owns this thing, he's one of these like Tony Robbins
Ooh.
affirmation public speaker guys. So I
Okay.
don't know, it looked really sketchy. But anyway, the jerky comment I was making was, what a pity they're not public. Could you imagine? It would be such a great short now. The cost of goods sold going through the roof because of tariffs, right?
Yeah.
And the lower income group is getting squeezed, so there'd
Mhm.
be less people coming through the door. That would be such a freaking disaster. So let's not talk about things that happened years ago and oh, I made so much money doing this, doing that. Let's talk about what can we do How is this all relevant right now going forward? I'm going to invite anyone and everyone to come up on stage and talk about this. I want to talk about the dollar stores. I want to talk about Walmart. Okay. So, some people say, well, people will trade down and blah, 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 blah. It's true. But there are also people who can't afford anything anymore. They're cutting back on anything but necessities. And so the dollar stores have been having, a hard time. The stocks crashed. I think they're bouncing again. It's cost cutting. From time to time, the rumors takeovers. But Walmart's commentary a few weeks ago, they suspended guidance. I mean,
Yes.
the consumers in a world of hurt. So I don't know, Tommy, if you're back up, you can talk. Maybe you'd start with the consumer stocks. Tom Thornton, can you talk now? Can we hear you? Please unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you. There you go, Tommy.
You're
So
back.
Okay, so
you're back. You're back.
I've
Go
been
go for it.
I've been listening, and I had to run to CVS and pick up some Claritin because spring, if you're on the East Coast, has finally arrived, and I know it's late for a lot of people, but yeah, my allergies have gone nuts. Um, the consumer. Well, first of all, George, you mentioned market sentiment. I haven't seen today's data, but I'm sure it ticked up a little bit. And I like to look at the daily sentiment index. I get the raw data and I put them on charts on the site. And you basically can see when things get really overdone on the upside and really overdone on the downside. And the thing that most people don't get with sentiment is that sentiment is a condition. It's not necessarily a trigger. Just the AAI is referenced by bulls, very rarely bears, but the bulls on the street. And I always have said this: the sell side guys always say, "Oh, the AAII is so low," and that was like early March that it got low, and that didn't really matter. It's when it turns, and it turned. Sentiment index turned at like 10% bulls, and that's really.
Did we lose him?
Hey, Dilly, I think we did lose him. Tommy, get to a better place. We lost you.
Yeah, I can't really help in the dollar store conversation either. I'm too rich to understand anything that doesn't come as a submarine or a tax shelter. So
No, but seriously, if anyone has I mean, because and Tommy was talking about CVS. There's another real winner. I mean, as we all know, CVS and Walgreens have been horrible stocks. Walgreens, I think, is getting taken over or take under by a private equity firm. But you think about CVS, it's like a total car crash. I mean, the front of the store is getting killed because it's a bad retail environment. Plus, you're not going to buy overpriced candy bars in this type of world. I mean, we know everything's a ripoff there. Plus, Dilly, I don't know. Like, I got to ask you, Dilly, are you into these coupons? Like, I can't believe it. Every time you go to CVS, the cash register just spits out coupons and coupons and coupons. Like, do you know what I'm talking about, Dilly? Or do you never go into
I
CVS?
never go to CVS. I rarely, like, maybe I go to Walgreens, but I don't think I've been in a CVS in like a decade.
What, you got it in for CVS? What's the problem?
I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe it's just a personal bias I didn't realize I had.
Yeah. But anyway, CVS is a disaster because
I
someone,
just know they lock everything up, right?
yeah, well,
I hate that.
all these places do. So CVS, you got the general merchandise side, which is a shit show.
Yeah.
Then you have the PBM thing where the whole scam with they're not transparent on the drug prices. And oh, by the way,
Yes.
here's another thing too, Jill. You know this. You go from one drugstore to the next. You just go online and type in on one of these. And this is, by the way, I don't want to
Good
be,
RX.
yeah, Good RX or Blink and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever. But like, people's try this. You go like, you just go online and type in a Good maybe Dilly, you couldn't explain everything. I'm just blown away by the disparity in prices from one place to the other for the
Well,
same thing.
that's why I don't go to CVS. They're always like more expensive.
So do you get your stuff from Blink or Good RX? What do you do?
I use Good RX, but I go to Walgreens. They have like a better, like, I don't know. The price at Walgreens is better than CVS. I don't know why.
All right, okay. So Dilly, you just inspired me. I got a great story.
All right.
I got a great story. Don't worry, this is not going to include the bathroom. But anyway, can you hear me, Dilly?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Here we go. This is a good one. This is one of the best ones ever.
Okay.
So, and my ex will not be mad at me for saying this. This is actually a compliment. So, when I was married until 2016, I was married for quite a while. I have to thank my ex-wife for, among other things, introducing me to dogs. And my ex-wife's a wonderful person, and she grew up with dogs. She has a heart of gold. She loves dogs. I never had a dog growing up. My parents wouldn't allow it. So our
What kind of
first dog,
dogs do you like?
I tend to like the little ones, believe it or not. So we had a lot of
Yeah.
Yorkies, poodles,
Yes.
those sorts of things. Okay.
Okay.
So the first dog we got from a breeder. And if anyone wants to talk about dogs, dog stories, I'm on. We should just do a space for dogs. I mean, dogs are better than
I'm
people.
thinking about getting a dog, so that's
Okay,
a good
so as I'm
idea.
reminded, you can write this down, Dilly. Write this down. As Stan Weinstein would say, right? You got a pencil, Dilly? Write this down.
Writing it down.
Yeah, write it down. Okay. Dogs are better than people for three reasons. One, they give unconditional love.
Yes.
Two, they're honest and
Hmm.
mostly honest. And three, they're present. They're not worried about what's going to happen or, all right.
Yes.
So they're better than people. So be the dog. Okay. So let me get on to the story. This is a great story. So the first dog we got from a breeder, but then in total over 12 years, we had 26 dogs, believe it or not. 26 dogs. All right.
How the hell do you go from no
And,
dogs to 26
and
dogs?
we had as many as six at a time.
Oh my
And,
God, George.
and we would get them
Were
all.
you
They're all right.
breeding them?
No, no. Well, actually, it's funny you say that. I'll get to that too. It
Oh,
brings up another story.
wow.
So we would have as many as six at a time, all older dogs, shelter dogs. So there was a lot of
Aw.
there was a lot of death and dying in our family because we always got the old ones. Like taking in
Yeah.
instead of buying a new car, you get the clunker with 120,000 miles on it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
by the way, when you say breeding, it's hilarious. So we had this is not the story, but it's a story. I'll get to the story in a minute. So we had some of these dogs were incontinent. Oh, here comes the urine again. Okay, some of these
George, I'm
dogs.
sensing a theme with you.
Yeah, okay. So we had these dogs that were incontinent, and
Mm-hmm.
so that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So like teach them to hold it, right?
Yeah, it's not gonna
So
happen.
so my ex-wife, she was constantly what we would do is we would get diapers, all right, from Amazon or Petco, wherever it was. I don't remember. Okay, so we get these deliveries like every other week of like Magumbo quantity of diapers. And I mean, it was crazy. The diaper and the trash and everything was insane. So, like at one point, I think the Amazon delivery guy like asked my wife. He's like, like, what are you doing? You like breeding these things? I mean, it's like we had so many dogs. It was crazy. All right, so let me get to the good story. So we had one dog who had a heart problem. He was ill, so he had a heart condition. We took him to Angel Memorial Hospital in Boston, which is the world's preeminent veterinary facility. This is a true story. So we go in, and they actually have a doggy cardiologist, believe it or not. I mean, this is a proper hospital. So they do tests on him, and they say, "Yep, he's got a heart condition." So they prescribe Viagra. Okay, now
You
for
gave your dog Viagra and it cured him?
no people Viagra. Hear me out. Just hear me out. So they prescribe Viagra, and so basically it's the same Viagra as human Viagra, just give them a smaller amount, right?
All right.
So do keep in mind that Viagra was initially developed, I think it was for pulmonary stuff, right? And it was only later on that was discovered to have these other properties.
Yeah,
By the way,
high
Dilly,
blood pressure, George.
high blood pressure. There you go. Dilly, by the way, I'm sorry, I'll whisper it really quietly, Dilly, but like, what do women do? Like, do they have a thing for women now? Can women take Viagra? How does this work? Like, what do women have to do like that guys do?
Oh,
Like,
George,
is it?
I don't need that yet. I'm not that old.
Oh, okay. Quiet. I don't want to. So anyway, so check this out. Check this out. Check this out. Check this out.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, I know it's like never a dull moment. So anyway, by the way, if you start telling me, Dilly, that the room is growing in size, then I'll really start to get worried. So any event, so it needs a Viagra. So the doctor says instead of going to the pharmacy in the hospital, go to Costco because
Yes,
it's cheaper,
it
right?
is. Yeah.
Okay. So my ex-wife, she takes the dog to go to Costco and she walks in with the prescription, goes up to the window, all right, and gives it to the person behind the counter, and they look at it. And the prescription, you ready for this, Dilly? This is true. The prescription is made out for Ralph the dog Noble. Okay. All right. All right. So the guy behind the counter is like, "What? Your husband?"
Yeah.
Ralph the dog Noble. All right. So he's like, "What are you breeding him?" He's like, "No, no, no." Wait, could you imagine, Dilly, like if you're waiting for the prescription
Yeah.
and they call you out and they go, Dilly, prescription for Ralph the dog noble, is that ready? All right. So anyway, this is a true story. But
Did the
dogs are
Viagra
what.
help though?
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So anyway,
that's interesting.
I had 26 dogs over 12 years, and
I love your
yeah,
commitment, like going from like not being a fan of
yeah,
dogs at all, and then
yeah,
going full
yeah,
force into it. Like I hope that
yeah.
I foresee your Bitcoin journey being like that too. When
All
you
right, there
George's
we
gonna be
go.
finally
running
dabble into
meme.
Bitcoin, like you're gonna go full force.
He's gonna be running
Yeah,
meme coin spaces.
there you
No,
go. There
no.
you go. There you
We
go. All
just
right,
need to just
all right,
good
all
I
with
right,
can.
Bitcoin.
I'm back. I got back to my house.
all right.
I
Good,
think
good. All
you
right,
can hear
Tom.
me.
Tom, the floor is back to you.
I just want to say, um, and I hope everybody can take this the right way. If George starts getting into Bitcoin and crypto, sell it like you cannot fucking sell it
Okay,
enough.
okay,
Okay.
okay. So it's Tommy, Dilly. Do you want to tell everyone our plan, or we're going to keep it secret?
Wait, hold on, George. I just want to mention a couple things. You had 26 dogs. 26 dogs. I have one dog, and I will say that's plenty. But that must have been a lot of food and a lot of shit that like happened in your
A
Oh, for
lot
house.
of
I
sure,
mean,
shit.
for
you're
A
like
sure.
one of
lot of
those.
shit.
Were you on like a news like a news story any
No,
ever like where like
Tommy,
house filled
Tommy,
with
we need context.
dogs?
We need context. Need context. The max at any one time was six. It wasn't. So it was 26 over 12
Whatever.
years.
6.
Six,
That's
six.
still a lot.
Oh yeah, oh
I
yeah.
mean, well, I mean, I guess you cut your ex-wife off and moved on, and that's I guess that was in the divorce proceedings where they said, "Well, why are you getting divorced?" Well, we have too many dogs because of her. But I'm not going to go there. But um, George, one thing, sort of earlier, I was listening, and I think Van Drunkenmiller, who that's just a classic name, um, said, something about energy, and everybody always, in these spaces, always talks about energy, and one thing I think I have actually a fairly decent sized position in some energy stocks I've recently bought, and I have a decent size in uranium that I recently bought. I think if there is geopolitical unrest in the world, there's one thing history has always shown, and I'm breaking up the hilarity of the dogs and all, but it's dominance with energy. If you have energy that you can produce and be energy independent and sell energy to other countries that are dependent on your energy, you will be a superpower. And I think that's coming back. And Russia was supposed to go bankrupt, but they have lots of energy that they're still selling to Germany that decommissioned their nuclear power plants. And now all the neighboring EU countries are pissed off at Germany because the energy prices have gone up because Germany doesn't have their nukes working anymore. And so I think that's something that a lot of people should think about if geopolitical events get a little bit more rough, that energy is going to be, I mean, I guess I guess it's the Mad Max um, thesis. They not not much was really fought for during the Mad Max series other than energy. So I think that energy could be something to really watch in the coming years. And I know years in a world where we live in minutes and days and zero data expiration options. But I think that the US energy infrastructure is pretty good. I think these companies are managing their businesses well. I think there's other foreign companies that are doing the same, managing it well, despite the turmoil with crude prices or natural gas. I think this is where you want to be, and I know that like yeah, it's not you know fast money or CNBC where they're like, oh, what do you like? I've been really liking the way uranium has been trading off the lows, and China's talking about, oh, we'll do another 25, I don't know, 25 new nuclear plants. I mean, it if the US wakes up, and Scott Bessent mentioned nuclear power the other day, if the US wakes up to nuclear power, and it's not the China syndrome or Three Mile Island, because you think about like the technology that was a computer back in 1975 or 1980, when those things were being powered by archaic systems. We're talking about uh, 40 plus years, 50 years later, that are the technology is unbelievable. And so I think it's something that, as everybody says, oh, you should have a little in something in your portfolio. I think nuclear is going to be important. And again, if the Canadian and US tariff thing gets worked out, I think it's going to be even more important, because Canada has a pretty good amount of nuclear uranium supply. So it's something to watch. I hate to like break off the unserious nature of talking about dogs and Viagra, which I don't even know where to begin on that. But I mean, and I mean,
Tommy, as long as we have you, and let's stay serious for a second. So, actually, we're being serious, but let's talk about this for a second. So, you mentioned volatility and energy, and by the way, I couldn't agree with you more with your take on energy. In particular, I want to remind everyone in the room that the U.S. is net energy positive now, as opposed to Europe or Asia or whatever. So, we become such big producers. We're the biggest energy producer in the world now. So, Tommy, one thing I wanted to ask you, you triggered me with something you said. You about volatility, and this is not going to help one, make a market call for tomorrow or next week, but it's more of just a generic idea, an abstract idea. The fact that you had volatility explode, realized wound up being much greater than implied. And so a lot of these vol controlled strategies or risk parity, all this sort of stuff, or zero DTE, a lot of these guys got blown out of the water. And I remember reading something a few weeks ago, and I was curious because you pay a lot of attention to the options market as well in watching this stuff. And I read something about, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, they were talking about how, forget about what the market's going to do, it's going to go up or down, but a lot of these guys have just gotten so blown out of the water, blown through the risk budgets, got hurt so badly that they were going to be very slow to come back to the market, if at all. And, I think the world would be a better place if we didn't have zero DTE, or we didn't have risk parity, we didn't have all control funds. So I'm just curious if you have any particular thoughts about those types of players in the market, and what, the fact that vol blew out through the roof, if there's any enduring impact from that, perhaps in a good way. Tommy, I guess I put him.
okay, no, I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, okay, zero data expiration, zero data expiration options. It's going to continue. That's like saying, we want to close the market, 2 hours early. Brokers are making money, and they're not going to change that. So that's number one. I don't think it's necessarily good for the investor. I think it makes it harder to hedge, because you have a lot of people that are just like trying to hedge like the immediate day. Is
Gilly, did we lose him again?
Yeah, he cut out for me.
Mm,
Maybe got a phone call.
could be.
I'm just glad someone else agrees with me on the energy stocks. Misery loves company, so
Yeah.
let's light oil and cigars at the same time.
Yeah. Hey, Van, I know you shouldn't smoke around the gas pump also, but Van, you follow the options market a little bit, and you and I were talking the other day. You saw some weird stuff going on in the options market. Do you want to expound on that at all?
Well, I had said before, I think if I were a foreign nation and I wanted to try to uh, hurt my enemy without it being obvious what I was doing, one way to do that might be to exploit the options market. and you can see that there is someone trying to stack implied volatility into the market before it shows up at the index level.
Right. So
So
there's some weird stuff going on.
Okay. Can you hear me, George?
Yeah, we got Tommy before you.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Tommy. Back to you.
Okay. Yeah, zero data expiration. That's going to stay around. It's not going to away until maybe somebody exceptionally big blows up, which I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the thing that has been super strange to me is that all the ball selling strategies that have attracted such massive amounts of capital haven't really shown up, and maybe I just missed it, but really didn't show up as floating to the surface as a dead body, and that to me was really kind of the most strange thing with this whole episode of super high volatility because I mean the amount of money that's been attracted to selling vol is just extraordinary. So usually you see those things, and another thing that I think Van mentioned. You haven't seen capitulation. You haven't really seen, the bodies float to the surface, and you haven't seen funds close. You haven't seen, the markets in turmoil on CNBC. It was sort of too quick. So that's kind of my quick. I could probably talk for longer on it, but I'll leave it at that. And I actually have to jump off. I've got to take my dog out for a little walk, George.
Yeah,
And
Tommy.
just
What,
one,
what breed do you got?
I have a King Charles Cavalier
Oh
Spaniel.
man, I'm gonna send you a photo later of our. He was our favorite dog, Charlie. We had a King. It was a Picalier, half Pekingese for those that don't know, half Pekingese, half King Charles Spaniel. So they're
Well,
wonderful dogs.
yeah, I will say Graham is a fantastic dog. He's, you know, it, he's a great friend. And now that I'm working from the house, now I gave up my office, which was really nice. And he's black, and he has little white stripes on his back. And his name is Graham because, as you know, I'm really into Formula One, and Graham
Yep,
Hill
I got it.
and
I got
Damon
it.
Hill, their
I got it.
helmet was black with white stripes. So here we
Okay,
go. I might have to get a Damon as well.
Tommy, great to hear from you.
All
Please
right.
come
See you
back. Always
guys.
good. Yeah.
All right.
All
See you,
right.
George.
Okay. All
Bye,
right.
Bill.
So
Bye,
Dilly,
Tommy.
Dilly, I'm really gonna cause trouble now.
Okay. What?
So I mean, whatever. So Tommy has a dog of color. Okay,
Yeah.
it's a black dog, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this is a true story. Okay,
Okay.
and if anyone comes after me,
I'm
first I'll start.
scared.
Okay, here we go. So it's funny people say you shouldn't engage in racial profiling or judge a book by its cover, any of that kind of stuff. But
Are you
listen,
racially profiling black dogs, George?
no, but I'm going to tell you the following story. Just listen to me, okay?
Okay.
Dogs trust their instincts. Like if dog's walking down the street and it sees this big, intimidating dog that doesn't look too nice, barking its head off, coming towards them, it's just gonna, just judge by appearance. I mean, I doubt the dog says to itself, "Oh, that dog looks terrifying on the outside. I'm sure it's a nice dog on the inside." I mean, it's not the way it rolls. So let me tell you a story. This is a true story. Okay, this is a true story. So we had some friends. There were some friends around here who are Asian American, and he's from Singapore, she's from China, whatever. Actually, I don't know why I say they're Asian American. One was from Singapore, and one was from China. So they happen to have Asian descent living in this country. So they adopted a dog. It was this white lab, nice dog, kind of dumb, but whatever, nice dog. And it was really interesting, by the way. They talk about cultural things. They were explaining to us how in China dogs are not regarded with the same respect as they are here in the U.S. Dogs are like property, in much the same way that like in different parts of the country, dogs are regarded differently. Or like you go to the Caribbean, and like they don't. Dogs are just property. They're not living things. So any event, this dog, really nice dog, white lab, it's Asian couple of they're friends of ours. Check this out, Dilly. I am not making this up. Okay. They told us their dog, his name was Cosmo, their dog,
Hmm.
he did not like Asian people. All right.
Really?
Okay. No,
I've
that's
heard of
serious.
racist dogs. Like,
Yeah,
this is a
okay.
thing.
So
I've heard of
Caucasian
that.
Caucasian dogs, fine. But like when other Asian people would come over, like the dog would bark its head off. Right?
Really?
Yeah, this is true. I'm not making, it's funny. They were
Huh.
this is a true story. This is a true story. All right.
I've heard of
So
racist dogs before. I don't
you
I
know,
don't
this
think
is
you're
this is
shitting.
the
Yeah.
thing. Now, I don't know. So Rusty, I saw you were lighting up over there. I think maybe because I was talking about different parts of the country and the way dogs are
Regarded.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rusty, I know with that accent you're not from Maine, but could you talk a little bit like how are like dogs? I get it. Like in the Northeast, dogs are like the members of the
Yeah.
family, all right? But I get it in some parts of the South, they're not held in such high esteem. Like, what's the deal with dogs in
Well,
the South, Rusty?
there's difference, right? So some people use them. They're just like they're they're used for certain things, right? Like they're an actual working dog, and then you have these guys who are just like view them that way, and there's no real connection emotionally, right? I'm not saying that
That's crazy.
free. Trust me, I got a dog. I love my dog. I got a golden doodle. She's awesome, but like,
Yep.
um, no, this it just depends on the area of the country you go to. And I was laughing about the racial profiling of the dog because um my dog actually, the bigger, the scarier, and whatever other ethnicity than me, who is Caucasian, she's more infatuated with. Like oh
Really?
yeah, in like total. But a small little white kid will walk up, or just nice little white girl to, hey, oh no, but a guy like he's going to just murder everyone straight out of
Ugh.
prison. No, she's the happiest she's ever been. It's the weirdest thing.
Rusty, isn't it amazing and Dilly, like dogs, sometimes they have like no idea how small they are or big they are or whatever. It's just,
Yeah.
it's
I
just
had pugs,
mind-boggling.
George, and they think they're big dogs. Like both of my
Really.
pugs. Oh yeah. Like I don't have them anymore, but when I would take them to the dog park, they would only go on the big dog side. They wanted nothing to do with the little dog side. They thought they were big.
Interesting. Interesting. All right, Dilly. It's almost 6. Do we
Yeah.
want to kind of call it a day?
I think we should call it, George.
All right, let's call it. So Dilly, tomorrow, 4:15, Peter Berezin, bank credit analyst. I'm gonna have to try to be the optimist because I don't want it to turn into a bear's den. But he's been bearish and he's been right. So, and he's pretty
That's
good.
tomorrow.
It's tomorrow at 4:15.
Okay.
Wednesday we got the new constructs guy. So tomorrow
Okay.
4:15, bank credit analyst guy, and we'll take it from there. So Dilly, thank you,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
George.
Russ, thank you, Druck, thank you, Rusty. Thornton's not here. Thanks to everyone. This is great, and see you tomorrow, Dilly. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.